Word has officially come in from the UFC that they are moving ahead with the season of The Ultimate Fighter featuring the former 2-weight world champion Conor McGregor and the former Bellator champion-turned-unmissable fighting lunatic Michael Chandler. Now, to me, this is an infinitely better move than any fight involving Tony Ferguson. El Cucuy deserves the payday, the exposure, the chance to immortalize himself through the endless stream of clips and memes that would have undoubtedly sprung up from a whole season of television between him and McGregor. But coming at this with the Conor McGregor playbook in mind, it would seem like only the most minuscule of steps forward. The Cowboy fight, which at the time was a much needed tune-up, was one thing, but losing to guys like Dustin Poirier and Khabib Nurmagomedov is by no means a surefire nail in the coffin containing Conor McGregor's ability to be a top 15 lightweight, or to be more clear, his ability to be sold as a top 15 lightweight. If this period of Conor's career is about rebuilding a brand, you don't take the fight against the 0-5 fighter who was just finished by your old rival Nate Diaz, and the man who appeared to be second in the running in Michael Chandler. No, the reason Conor gets such a hard time from his fans for his shortcomings is because he plays with his chips on the line every time, and I think the Chandler fight strikes the perfect balance. On one side you have a genuine top 8 or 7 lightweight in the world who poses some very real danger, especially with that knockout power, a man who can break McGregor in a way that we haven't seen. I mean, stiffen him out like a board, no TKO stoppage like a straight knockout. But it's also a winnable fight from a stylistic perspective if Conor is in form. Chandler is kind of one note in his striking, and unlike Poirier and Diaz, he's not a southpaw. And unlike Khabib, he's not, well, Khabib. This is a wrestle boxer with a stubborn level of grit, as well as a penchant for throwing his best path to victory out the door in favor of a heavily entertaining approach. He falls somewhere between the power of a Chad Mendes and the DNA of an Eddie Alvarez, even if that's a bit of a rough comparison. But you get what I mean. Conor indeed has a path to a credible victory against Michael Chandler that would legitimize him to some extent. I mean, there are some who won't accept him even then, but those people will never be happy. And it's fair enough. I think the Tony Ferguson fight, even if he won it, wouldn't have solved much for McGregor's brand. And at this stage, his brand needs a quick fix. And the upcoming season of The Ultimate Fighter as an appetizer is kind of perfect in this regard. Chandler was absolutely made for the cameras. He was absolutely made for an opportunity like this. Before we even talk about what he'll bring to the pre-fight build-up and to the action itself on fight night, seeing this man do his thing opposite someone like Conor across several weeks worth of tough is going to be a lot of fun. I don't even like The Ultimate Fighter these days. In fact, I haven't tuned in with any degree of consistency in many years. It's a tired format, and I do think the UFC have been beating a dead horse by repeatedly putting it on the air. But this move, to me, it feels right. Can Conor actually reclaim some of that special thing that made him the man he once was? Well, on a personal note, there's likely too much damage done to his standing with a lot of his former fans to really make the idea of him getting it all back a bit far-fetched. But competitively, that's where the real question lies. If he can get past Chandler, depending on the fashion he does it in, people will begin to talk. And again, given that Conor always plays a high-stakes game, showing up to the cage and beating Michael Chandler after this layoff and bad form will mean something. Just like a loss here could put a definitive end to his prospects. It's a real do-or-die kind of fight, which is my kind of scenario. I'm certainly a sucker for this kind of storyline, because the stakes are pretty real, at least to me. Some people have moved beyond the whole McGregor thing, but as an Irishman and as a writer with deep roots in the sport, I can't help but be drawn back in every time. Not out of some desire or some passionate belief that he will do something incredible, but just on the off chance that he might. As I've said many a time, I like to place faith in great fighters' ability to be great, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Conor should be past it, and everything from his inactivity to the severity of the injury that he has been forced to overcome should make the idea of him beating a much more active guy like Michael Chandler a long shot. But I do think there's enough here in the circumstances, in the stylistic matchup, to make this one of the year's most intriguing fights. At the very least, it'll likely be a banger. These two guys can always be counted on to spring up a good old game of face punch. Either way, we'll see how this one plays out. For me, I'm quite happy because wherever Conor goes, a crazy spectacle is bound to follow. And for a guy like Michael Chandler, who's truly great for the sport, a guy I actually interviewed back in the day, I'm a huge fan, and I think he deserves this opportunity and all of the rewards that will come with it. September is the month that I've seen floating around as far as a potential fight date is concerned, so all that remains now is to wait on the tough season announcements, I guess. The whole USADA situation would likely be cleared within 6 months if a cycle of testing begins soon, leaving Conor eligible to fight for that date. Let's not even get into why he's been out of the pool in the first place. That would take another video entirely. But yeah, it's good that we're closing in on a major spectacle involving two of the most watchable fighters in the sport. And at the very least, the fight itself will be a lot of fun while it lasts. I'd give it about a round. Anyway, that'll just about do it for this video. So how do you see this fight between McGregor McGregor and Chandler playing out? And out of interest, how much do you care at this stage when it comes to the return of the sport's biggest attraction? Do let us know in the comments section below, and if you want to help in supporting the channel, liking the video and subscribing would do wonders. Thank you for watching.